West Valley.
Good morning, everybody.
So, just want to welcome you out on this wonderful Easter Sunday. What a nice rain we're having, huh? Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of muddy around our house, but we dropped our songbook in mud. I mean, it was a challenge getting here this morning.
We dropped our songbook.
But
we left our quiche in the other car.
Yeah,
we had to switch cars.
I'm feeling really blessed, though. Yeah.
But we made it.
So, anyhow, we'd like to start the service like we always do with a song called "This Is the Day." And if you could join in with us and bring up the spirit, we would love it.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Can feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Woo!
Good morning, Julie. There I am. We have a new person back there in the sound booth. Just kidding. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goins. I'm the assistant minister here, and I want to welcome you here on this beautiful, happy Easter morning. So thank you guys for joining us, and we have a wonderful potluck afterwards. So we're going to have some great fellowship afterwards, and this is just going to be a beautiful, wonderful day. So I want to start off with an announcement from Kay. So we'll let Kay come up.
Good morning. So I wanted to announce a Qigong class that I'm having on Friday. This Friday from 1 to 5 p.m. That would be April 5th. And Qigong is a really peaceful, meditative, moving martial art that helps promote flexibility, balance, and just overall peace, and can be used as a spiritual practice. So I wanted to invite you to that. There is a sign up in the bookstore. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. So here's another example of another spiritual practice we can learn and learn from, and also put it in our toolbox of all of our spiritual toolbox that we have. So thanks, Kay.
I want to mention that it can be done sitting and standing for those of you who are concerned about standing.
Oh, great. Okay. All right, so the next important message coming out is our rummage sale. We're having a spring fundraiser, and we're asking for everybody's support. Everybody go through your closets, go through your garage, look under your beds. I know there's a lot of stuff out there, right? My rule in my house, if you haven't used it in a year, bring it in. So we're looking for everything. So there's a flyer that it's on the desk out there when we're walking in. It's going to be what day is it? The Saturday, April the 13th. Is the actual rummage sale that we're having. So the week before, bring in your stuff. You can start bringing it in now. We're collecting it now, and we're going to be setting it up the week before. So again, it's a big fundraiser that we're having. We're going to be marketing it and opening up the doors for everybody, and so a lot of excitement around it. But right now, we're just reminding everybody to bring in their stuff. And I know we have stuff, all of us. So. All right, so hopefully you guys are going to have a wonderful Easter day today, and again, please join us for our potluck after service. Judy brought the ham, so just kidding. Anyway, so let's just get on with the service. I'm in a really good, fun mood, and I think I need to shift gears, and we need to get centered into this spiritual place called home. So let's say our visioning statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the sound mind principles. And so it is. So just sit back, open up your hearts and minds for the Bradford's beautiful music and Reverend Karen's important message. Thank you.
So just take a deep breath on this beautiful morning.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
Be still and know that there is one life, and that life is God, and that life is present everywhere. That life of God is what brings down the rain that nourishes the flowers and the trees and the plants. That God that shows in the sunshine. The God that is in every person, place, thing, and situation in life. It is all God. That God of peace, love, joy. And I am so grateful that knowing that that one God is within each one of us here in the center. It is within me, is within all of us, and all of those present, and all of those who are watching online. That God is the divine expression of all good. And on this beautiful Easter Sunday, I am so grateful for everyone here, for those in service, for those watching. And I speak a word of blessing for everyone. And words for the Bradfords, knowing that their music just permeates our souls with that divine harmony that only they can provide right here, right now. And for Reverend Karen, knowing that God is speaking through her, that her words are exactly what we need to hear. And each one of us will take home something individual, something special from her message. And for all of those in other faith traditions, knowing there are many paths to that one God. And with great gratitude, I release my words into the law, knowing that it is already done. It is so on this beautiful Easter Sunday. And together we say, and so it is. My reading today is from today's reading in the Science of Mind magazine. And it's called Rising Up. On this day, Christians around the world will celebrate the resurrection of Jesus as their Savior. However, in Science of Mind, Easter takes on a different meaning. Those who practice New Thought view Jesus as a master teacher who led by example, telling people that what he did, they could do also. After life on this earth, life continues as the consciousness is freed from the body to express in other plane of existence. Ernest Holmes encouraged people to focus on this life, connecting with the kingdom of heaven within themselves to express their highest and best, letting go of any worries about what might come next. On another level, the resurrection of Jesus offers the lesson that just as the stone was rolled away from the entrance of Jesus' tomb, we too can roll away the stone of our small selves to let our true selves express a higher and deeper level of consciousness. In essence, living from the Christ within us. Just as Christmas is a celebration of birth of the Christ consciousness, the consciousness of oneness within each one of us, each Easter can be a time where we commit ourselves to removing whatever blocks us from expressing the Christ consciousness that is our true nature. We can metaphorically roll away the stone of ego and fear, allowing our true self, the self that sees through the eyes of love and oneness, freedom to express. Let's take a moment to contemplate those words. And so it is.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the springing, fresh from the world. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first cypress grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Good morning. Happy Easter. We are here together on Easter Sunday. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for choosing to spend this holiday with us. We have something rather special to participate in if you so choose. And meanwhile, I have a message all ready to deliver to you on this idea of the Christ consciousness. I think that was a really good choice of a reading because it sums up the whole view from a New Thought perspective of how we do Easter a little bit different. We see a celebration of that risen Christ, and the focus is not on the crucifixion or the suffering. It's a whole new day. I love that line towards the end of that song, God's recreation of a whole new day, and that's what Easter really is about as far as I'm concerned. It's spoken so beautifully in a lot of ways. So it's the day where we look at this idea of the risen Christ. It's a way that we, instead of focusing on the crucifixion and the suffering, we now focus on the empty tomb. And that's the beginning of a bigger story that's about renewal. And isn't spring always about renewal? It's so lovely in the springtime how we're always looking at new beginnings and fertile possibilities, and that twitterpation that we talked about last Sunday, twitterpation that you see in all the little participants in the natural world. I think it's so fun to sort of watch that what happens in life and to actually witness it from a risen consciousness. And so after the winter time, spring comes like it's a big wake-up call. And the title of my message this morning is, Don't Go Back to Sleep. So I took the title from, many of you will recognize it. It's a poem that's written by the Sufi poet Rumi. And the poem reads like this. The breeze at dawn has secrets. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back. People are going back and forth across the door sill where two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. What gorgeous words. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell us, and that's how spring feels to me. It's that recreation, the way God recreates it, but we get to take time to something. Just tell me if you want me to change mics.
Probably, yes. I think it's the connection on the back. If you want to just go.
No, you want me to change mics? Is that what we're gonna? You want me to?
Just use the mic.
Yeah. Yeah, let me, I don't know how to turn. No problem. We'll will recreate it. It's God's day. There are all things new all the time. You just got to notice. The breeze at dawn has some secrets. So there's something about that holy newness that we talk about at Easter time that has to do with our attitude. It has to do with paying attention to those things on the planet that we can name holy. You know, it's like looking for, I say this from time to time, looking for God's fingerprints on the events that are unfolding in my life, whether they seem challenging or whether they seem inspirational doesn't even seem to matter. But this morning, having this talk all prepared, and I pray when I get in the car, and I pray all the way to church, and I was praying and couldn't remember if I'd closed the garage door. So I went around the block and came back, and sure enough, the door was down, right? Yes, yeah, I see some heads nodding. You guys relate to that. And when I went around the block, which I would not have done, there was the cutest little bunny in the corner property just waiting for me to notice. And now I'm praying, and I'm praying about seeing the fingerprints of God in my life. And what do I get? I get an Easter bunny. Right? It was so perfect. It was so lovely. And, you know, I don't think I've seen a bunny in my neighborhood in about a year. So it was a really lovely sighting. It's not that they're not there. They're there. But when we take time to be in that zone where we can name things holy in the name of God, we are restored in our vision. We're able to see life from an entirely new perspective, and we can be a part of the twitterpation that happens in the springtime. You know, there are festivals and traditions for almost every spiritual faith that has to do with the season of spring. And in Christianity, of course, we take our take on Easter with coloring eggs and eating chocolate, and much to our delight. In my house, it always included Cadbury on Easter, right? I hear. Oh, see, we got some agreement on that one too. But when we recognize that way that our traditions, and that there are other traditions around this globe, when we recognize that they don't all tell the same story, but they have similar themes, it can help us to see the way that we fit in to the whole, to all of it. It can help us to have a sense of belonging, even when we're having a sense of being isolated or separated or different. And it helps me remember that no matter what, even in relationship to the differences that we are in our unique humanity, it reminds me that I'm a part of something bigger, that we all are. So there's information in the breeze at dawn. Now, this morning, I was up before dawn like I often am on Sunday morning. Well, like I always am on Sunday mornings. And there was a little more than a breeze. It felt like a hurricane was moving around out there. And pretty soon I was noticing that it was even louder. And I went to the window, and because it was dark, I turned on the porch light, and I saw that it had started raining. And so there is this beautiful way we're reminded that the spring rains, which we've been just joyously experiencing lately, that those spring rains are part of what makes the twitterpation happen, which makes the newness be reborn again in the way that God is recreating all the time. So every culture has its own unique way of acknowledging change and renewal and the transformation at springtime. And there are religious holidays, and there are festivities, and I love the way in another Rumi poem, Rumi says, there are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Amen, baby. So every spiritual tradition around the globe has ritual and ceremony and festivities, and they often tie in easily with this idea of a transformation and renewal. It's no accident that this idea of awakening and rising again, the way the plant life rises again. We thank goodness we finally got the property cleared here. Did you see how fast the weeds grow on this property? Imagine all that Holy Spirit just nudging them towards the sun and the fullness of life. So there's this season of renewal, and we're planting seeds of hope. If you noticed when you entered the sanctuary, and if you are viewing from home, we're going to post some pictures later on this afternoon. We'll post them on Facebook. We have created different stations around this sanctuary. Originally, I had 13, and I had to thin them out so we could fit in here for Sunday service. But I took the what they consider to be the 6 major world faiths, and I made a station to honor each of those faiths. But in addition to that, we have other stations that honor other various aspects of spirituality that are inclusive in the New Thought perspective. So when we look around the room, and by the way, you will be invited to, Reverend Clyde, would you like to pass out the yellow folders? When the service is complete and we step into the other room to eat, I'm going to turn the lights out and put the lighting on the way that I desire to make it be more sacred for you, and there'll be music playing. And if you choose to take a spiritual pilgrimage before you leave this morning, you can walk around and visit the different stations, and you will see that at each station, each of those that represents a major world faith, I also have provided the sacred text that goes along with that faith. So check out each, they're like mini altars in a way, and then have some experiences, because there are also, in the booklet that you're just getting from Reverend Clyde, you can see that there are ways you can participate as a part of your own spiritual practice. So have a good time and take as much time as you like doing that. But meanwhile, I want to tell you about each of those traditions and the rituals or festivities that they have in the springtime that beautifully correspond to our celebration of Easter. And I want to start with I've moved south wall. South? Yes? South. No windows in here. It's hard to know. On the south wall, right behind Sue Ann, is a table that is arranged to honor the indigenous tribes, the nation's first peoples. And in that corner, we have a reminder as we take in the wisdom from those early traditions, the earth-based spirituality. We understand, or we remember, that the wisdom they left us has great respect for the earth and the honoring of the natural cycles of life, particularly the changing of the seasons. Over on the north wall, to the right side of those double doors, is the station that honors the Hindu faith. And in the Hindu faith, at this time of year, they have a very colorful celebration. You may have seen it on TV or in photographs. It's gorgeous. They call it Holi. Holi, and they do this crazy thing in India when they celebrate Holi, and they run around and they throw colored powder on each other, and they have great fun doing it, and it is quite colorful indeed. And they do this in a celebration of the triumph of good over evil. But even more poignant is the story they attach to this ritual that comes from it represents the eternal divine love of Krishna and Radha. It's a beautiful love story, colorful, and a very festive and fun holiday. In the Islamic faith, which I have over here, also still south? I have the Islam corner, and I lived in an Islamic culture, and that this reminded me of the architecture there. And you will find that there is a beautiful quotation that you can contemplate. There's also a copy of the Quran in that corner. And it happens to fall in the spring this year, but it does not always, because their calendar goes in a 9-month cycle. The season, we are right now in the season of Ramadan. And Ramadan is a very sacred period of time where there's fasting and prayer and deep spiritual reflection, and certainly an appreciation for community. At one time, I had Muslim neighbors on both sides of me, and it was so luscious because I could hear them praying when they would do their 5 times a day when they would do their prayers. But at Ramadan, when they would have their at the close of Ramadan, when they have their biggest gathering, my one neighbor who no longer lives there, they make a big meal, and they would either invite me over to eat with them, or they would bring me, if I didn't come, they would bring me a plate of food, and my neighbor would say to me, "This is for you, because neighbor is family." And he always, he always made me feel just loved and a part of their big celebration. In Thailand, in the Buddhist tradition, but in the country of Thailand, they celebrate every year on April 13th, so you can see Easter dances around that date. They celebrate what they call Songkran, and I'm sure they don't pronounce the R the way it looks to us. But the celebration is a time where they pour water over the Buddha statues. And in Thailand, there's a whole lot of Buddha statues. Many of them are up on pedestals, but they say that when you walk past a temple or a Buddha statue that's anywhere, your head should never be higher than the Buddha's, and that was a real problem for my 6'5" husband when we lived in Thailand. He was always trying to duck down because he was taller than, well, just about everybody there. So was I. But the beautiful thing about this story of Songkran is that there's this water that symbolizes cleansing, but it has turned through the decades, it has turned into one giant water fight. And so if you don't want to get wet, you don't go outside, you don't go to the city on April 13th, because each city supplies water guns and buckets of water and places to refill, and they just have one giant, very fun water fight, unless you don't like to be involved in getting wet. But it's so hot there that it probably feels really good. Moving to the Jewish faith, I have an altar in the very back of the sanctuary. That would be the east wall, I believe. And there is, in this season, we see that Easter corresponds with the Jewish experience of Passover. And that's an 8-day festival where they recount their story of deliverance, and they tell stories about the Israelites escaping and being freed from slavery. And then if you go around the corner, right behind Gary, race car driver Gary's here today. Hi, Gary. Right behind Gary's sitting in the Christian corner. And I created a really beautiful altar. The photograph at the top of that altar is actually the small church that my mother attended when she was a child. Her family came from Russia, and there were no Russian Orthodox churches, so they found that little Catholic church, and so that picture is tender to my heart because it expresses the roots of my faith, which you can see are already mingled. I also have Native American ancestry, so all of us seem to be a little package of all kinds of possibilities. And then in the Christian faith, of course, we have Easter and bunnies and eggs and chocolate, and we move at Easter time. I always think of it like it's the end of the season of Lent, and we step into this new light of the resurrection. So it goes from a very solemn occasion into this really sweet way we celebrate it with our children, with Easter baskets and goodies and egg hunts and all of those things. The other stations that you will see in the sanctuary today or in the photos that I'll post later include one for representing the goddess energy, the feminine, the sacred feminine, the paradox in spirituality, the mystery, and that of the unknown. So you will be able to see those are kind of all around the sanctuary here. New Thought teachings have that very specific twist on the story of Easter, as Kay so beautifully read to us. And I like the metaphysical interpretations very much because when we look at the metaphysics and what we mean when we use that term metaphysics is that we're talking about the deeper meaning. Meta is just beyond the physical, metaphysical, that which is the spiritual, that which goes deeper. And the spiritual, deeper meaning you'll notice that every culture has a slightly different story as to how they look at the renewal of life in the springtime. So for the Christian faith, it's about the rising of the victorious rising of Jesus after the cave is empty, the tomb is empty. They say the tomb has become the womb of rebirth. So it's about transformation, and most importantly, it's about the eternal nature of life, because in the resurrection, we see that we are born again, we are born anew. And Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching, had a lot to say about the symbolism of Easter. These are his words. Jesus taught us that the kingdom of heaven is not reached through the gateway of death, but by overcoming our limited beliefs while we are here. I'm going to read it again. Jesus taught us that the kingdom of heaven is not reached through the gateway of death, but by our overcoming our limited beliefs while we are here, living in the flesh, experiencing the seasons, including the seasons of our own lives. The term resurrection is defined in New Thought as the death of the belief that we can be separate from God. So there's something here, there's an invitation here that calls us to return to it, that sense of connection, that understanding of wholeness, and how that wholeness, being WHOLE, becomes the holiness of life in the way we are one, that we are all connected to God and to each other. And at Easter time, we then rise in our consciousness, awake and aware of that holy newness. So there's another theme here that I thought would be useful to talk about this morning, and that is that what that means is it's like we're beginning again. Do not miss the opportunity to see how spring and Easter call us to begin again. And when we consciously turn to beginner's mind, we can have something that's exciting in the opportunity to learn some new things. We have to have a willingness or a readiness to be open to seeing things in a new way, and you don't do that when you don't approach life with a beginner's mind. When you become an expert, you know too much. So in Zen Buddhism, there's actually a word for a beginner's mind. It's shoshin. And when you practice shoshin, you're practicing an attitude of openness and of eagerness. And you enter then, in that attitude, we can enter into a consciousness where we do not come with preconceived ideas. And I think that the important part of that statement is that is preconceived ideas and beliefs are the very root of conflict in our lives and in our worlds. When we have different agendas and we hold different values, then we don't find that oneness. We can't stand together in that beautiful way where we recognize we're all a part of something big and whole and beautiful. So from a beginner's mind, our perception is fresh and it's somehow a little bit keener. I think it's what Holmes must have meant when and other metaphysicians, when they talked about being open at the top. Open at the top. Sometimes life kind of pushes us into a corner and we don't feel so open. It feels like our options kind of dwindle down, or maybe it feels like we don't even have any options. And when we get tangled up in our stuff, then we have to have a beginner's mind to get ourselves untangled. We get to go to the place we once began and see it for the first time, as Eliot said. Did you ever try and untangle jewelry? Yeah, I see a lot of that. My husband used to help me because I couldn't always have the patience for it. But when you have some jewelry that got itself all tangled up, I don't know how that happens because I wouldn't do that, right? But it actually gets like knots in it. And in order to untangle fine jewelry, well, there's a jeweler. In order to untangle that, we have to be very gentle. We have to be very patient. We have to slow down our busy minds. You can't do it if you can't get yourself in a place to slow down a little bit. But when we do, we expand what's possible, and we're able to loosen those knots little by little. And I was thinking how every entanglement we get ourselves into in our living, every entanglement benefits by being a little gentler. So when you get overwhelmed and you can't think straight anymore, and you know how I say stop, pause, breathe, affirm something good? Well, those are the ways we're gentler. We give ourselves some space. And those knots then almost untangle themselves once we just think of we're just loosening a little bit. In beginner's mind, they say there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. Right? We think we have it figured out, and then it's difficult to backtrack a little bit and be gentle again. I was browsing and found this quotation from the Gospel of Thomas. I think it's a good Easter quote. The words of Jesus, "Have you found the beginning then, so that you are now looking for the end? You see, the end will be where the beginning is." Everything in life, everything in this universe is in the process of becoming, because everything is alive. everything then becomes a part of this great system of wholeness that we are involved in, that we are a part of. And when we recognize that we're a part of something bigger, then we can never fully separate ourselves from the whole. Then we can have that perspective. And we might bounce in and out of being aware of it. But there's always that beautiful perspective of all things connected. Now, Easter as a spiritual tradition, Easter is about the ascension of the Christ mind. It is about the scripture that says, "May the mind that was in Christ Jesus also be in you." And so when we open our minds to that presence, that awareness of that Christ consciousness that Jesus so aptly demonstrated, embodied, he lived his life according to it, then everything changes. When we examine the personhood of Jesus, we see that his life demonstrates a different set of values that are not about the kinds of moral lessons that people have somehow religiously attached ideas to. The values that Jesus demonstrated shift us from having judgments. Remember, judge not by appearance. The teachings teach us to shift any ideas of competition in the way that being competitive with each other separates us. It looks to show differences. And so we look now at the differences we see in the different world religions, in the different spiritual traditions, in the different cultures, in the different ethnicities, in the different way we each live our own lifestyle. And we see that there can still be this freedom to be who we are without having to put other people down, without having to wish everybody would do things the way we want them done or align to the values that are personally important to us. So we see that certainly there have been lots of examples of where I think perfectly intelligent Bible scholars have missed some ideas about the humanity of Jesus that we are invited to look at again. Instead of looking religiously or legalistically, in some ways, I think there were Christian churches that came and they just kind of brought the Mosaic Law and all those rules along with them because that was the tradition of religion. But this is a new day. People no longer want to be fed platitudes and live in an environment where it feels like we're judging one another or we have rules that you have to live by or you're not welcome here. The world is changing in a mighty way, and our job is to just look for that way to have beginner's mind when we're approaching something that seems foreign to us or that seems scary to us. Thomas Berry, wonderful. He writes so gorgeously about God and nature. He's known to be a spiritual ecologist, but I stumbled on a writing that he did where he spoke of a universal fourfold wisdom, and I think it's so amazing. And he encouraged us to notice that there are sacred scriptures in every faith that are relevant for our living. As I thought about all the different sacred books sitting in this sanctuary right now, and the way that we gravitate towards something that we think is the only true word. Not only that, but there are, do you know how many translations of the Bible There are thousands of different translations of the Bible, and I have people, because I like Eugene Peterson, that he paraphrased. He didn't even translate the Bible. He reworded it in a language that worked for him, so because he wanted people to fall in love with the Scripture, that they were missing the point with the old languaging. And I have people are Christian, perfectly good, new thought, not even necessarily Christians, but people that love the Bible, that will argue and put down other translations of the Bible. I don't care what translation you read. I don't care if you read it or you don't read it. But I love this idea that there is truth in the sacred scriptures of every faith. And you know why that is? Do you wonder why they still put Bibles in hotel drawers? Do you know who does that? The Gideons. You know, do you wonder why we still, in this modern day and age, why is there still such an idea of sacredness around Scripture, around the Bible? It's because we give it that. It's because we have given meaning to every sacred book in this sanctuary, and all those that I didn't drag here, and all those that I don't even own. Damn it. There's always more to want, right? Because people everywhere around this globe have given meaning to important words. And when we do that, then we can read those texts and we can find the metaphors and the symbols that speak to us personally. And we can use this as higher wisdom. So Thomas Berry, as a spiritual ecologist, said something really important. He said it's a fourfold wisdom, and there are 4 things we could put together that would heal all the problems in the world. He didn't really word it that way, I did. He said, the 4-fold wisdom will guide us into the future. And this wisdom is readily available to everyone. It is, first, the wisdom of the indigenous people. Second, it is the wisdom of the classical religions. Third, it is the wisdom of science. And fourth, hang on, it is the wisdom of women. We stand for that. This is a faith that has been promoting that same wisdom from its inception. There's not just one sacred text. There's not just one true religion. There is your interpretation of spiritual truth, and that is what influences your life. And because we step into that beginning wisdom again every spring, or we can do that every day, we can come with beginner's mind. We can look with a fresh new perspective, and we can see that nature is talking to us, that all the sacred texts have information that we may or may not be able to relate to, and so much more. So many prolific, wonderful authors and spiritual leaders and thought leaders that have new ideas as to how to lead us through these days we're living in. So, just as we can incorporate sacred ceremony like I have done here in the sanctuary, and like all the faiths around the globe have their own rituals and festivals, all of it is there to help us stay awake. We create traditions in our families, don't we? It's easy to think of the traditions that we grew up with that are different from other families. We have traditions here in this spiritual community. And so just as we create traditions so that we can remember, so that we can stay awake, we are living in a time where it seems very apparent that there is a restructuring going on in the human imagination, and that excites me. Because I believe it is an opportunity for us to be a part of finding each other in this new world that we are creating right now. So bring your beginner's mind. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. So I just turn within for a moment to sense and feel and recognize the presence of God right here in this sacred space that we call sanctuary. It is our holy ground. It is a place of worship. And it is a place of new beginnings. So I feel the love of God within me. I feel that love, and I know that it is the movement of life. It is the way in which all of creation is perpetually becoming. There is no place where God is not. So we feel and sense and know, and we claim and embody this amazing truth that right where we are, no matter what we are walking through, no matter what's going on in the world, there is a healing and a loving and comforting presence that is greater than we are. And we step into this day, this Easter holiday, a celebration of new beginnings and risen consciousness. And we see beyond the bunnies and the chocolate and the beautiful colored eggs and all the traditions of the cultures around the world. We see that there is this need to be festive, to be Twitter-pated, to be on fire for the goodness of life that is birthing itself even now. So even as the trees in our neighborhoods are filling with leaves again, even as the rain is watering and cleansing the land and the greenery everywhere, we see that there are these signs of the continuity of life, the ongoingness of spirit, the eternality that is spoken to so perfectly in the Easter story. That there is no death, but there is transformation. That when we shed these bodies, that life force within us continues. And that we are lifted, we are lighter, we are transparent, and we understand that there are secrets in the morning breeze that are being offered to us day by day by day. And so I know that in this season of renewal, all things are born again. And so we allow ourselves to be transformed, to have our minds renewed, so that we can take that example of the personhood of Jesus and see that as the elder brother, he has shown us ways in which we can heal ourselves, the ways in which we can cast out the negative demons in our own minds so that we can live and move and have our being in a more sane, in a more graceful, in a gentle and beautiful yet powerful way. That we are one with life. We are part of the whole. Therefore, there is something perfect and complete about each of us. And where there is any appearance of anything that might ail us or seem to limit us, we simply know that in the peace of God, there's this mighty expansion of truth that clears the way for us to be healed and whole and to live our lives fully, brilliantly, and filled with love. So I am grateful. I give thanks for this powerful knowing, for these holy words of prayer, knowing that they are indeed powerful. And it is with a grateful heart that I simply release this prayer on this Easter Sunday. I allow these words to be, and therefore I know they are. And together we say, and so it is.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
Hey, thank you, Bradford. So, what I'm grateful for is Reverend Karen setting up these stations. So we had a spiritual practice on Thursday night or Thursday afternoon. We came out for the spiritual practice, and I came and participated, and it was a really beautiful experience. And so I'm really inviting you guys to join us with this. And I really like the idea of the beginner's mind, because when I was sitting there thinking about, when I went through this experience, I went through it with it, I was thinking more of a little boy's mind, but a beginner's mind of just throw out everything that you know and just allow yourself to be immersed in each one of these traditions in the most incredible way that Reverend Karen set this up. So go get something to eat, come back, experience it. It'll be here for a while. Take your time, but try to make all the stations. It's really worth it. So that's my marketing pitch for today. Anyways, so now's the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our community, and knowing that we live in an abundant world. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. to be alive. Woo!
All right, so let's say our closing affirmation together and join in some wonderful food. So just repeat after me. I awake to my truth. And I anew my faith. And so it is.